Aloha and welcome to the Embodied Healing Self podcast with your host, jenmons. Each week, join me for soul-inspired, conscious conversations around embodied healing and awakening to your soul's purpose. Thank you for listening in. Hello, podcast family. Welcome back. I have been having so much fun in the space of this shift around prosperity consciousness that I find myself wanting to record multiple podcasts on this every day. So I'm coming to you after my morning routine with something that just came through in stillness this morning that I really want to share with you, which is allowing the frequency and the energy of money or wealth or prosperity to amplify your voice and your values in the world. It became very clear to me on why it's important to talk about this, because I never thought I'd be talking about this on this show. I never thought I would be teaching this. I never thought I would receive all these downloads around it. I kind of was really resisting it. And then I was like, okay, I hear you. And let me share in the way that it's coming through, because it's going to resonate with the people who are listening. And so the language that I'm using to speak about this prosperity consciousness is through shifting energetic imprinting, through integration, through embodiment. But the cool part is with all the experience and the language that I have used on this podcast over the years as a holistic health coach and then an emotional empowerment coach and an energy healer, it's really giving me the reference point of how this is all so closely connected. Like, your ability to receive compliments is directly related to your ability to receive financial freedom. Your ability to have deep, intimate relationships is directly related to your ability to have sustainable and enjoyable financial freedom. Your ability to give and receive and thrive is directly related to your ability to live in wealth consciousness. Your ability to nourish yourself with healthy, high vibration foods is directly related to the energy of your willingness to receive. Like, it's so much of it is on the foundation of receiving. And all of this, by the way, is sacral chakra work. And we know, my listeners, you guys know, we are in a time of shifting this feminine energy. We've been in it for, like 50 years, but it's been exponential for the past 5 years, and then even more exponential the past 2 years. And so, a lot of the women I work with are the ones that are tired of proving themselves and overworking and overachieving and working for corporate and feeling undervalued and trapped in the cycles of busyness and indecision and self-sabotage, and really ready to give themselves permission to create the life they want. And why this conversation is so important, because you know what? There are some things that are uncomfortable to talk about, and that happens to be, religion, sex, money. Those would be 3 really good ones. Let's see, what else? Politics, another really uncomfortable one. So that's why we're talking about it. And I've been doing work around this since 2018, when I really began to shift from coaching to business owner. It was like, okay, I'm ready to take up more space. I'm gonna hire a team. I'm gonna create contracts. I'm gonna, the whole shift was such a huge shift energetically, taking up more space. And it's one of the 4 levels to financial freedom that I talk about in my prosperity consciousness course, is going from employed to self-employed to business owner to investor. And the only reason any of this matters to most of us is because it's not about the material things in the world. I have everything I need. I've had everything I need my entire life, even when it wasn't much. That was just the consciousness that I was born into, which is why I'm here to teach this. And had I not gone through a very challenging, difficult, well, really more than one. I've had some pretty challenging and difficult financial burdens to overcome of different kinds in my life. And each of these have invited me into understanding scarcity consciousness, which is the opposite of prosperity consciousness. And scarcity consciousness is largely, it is the ego. We make it all about us. Prosperity consciousness is about everything outside of us. It's bigger than us. Scarcity consciousness, stuck in what's not working for me. Prosperity consciousness, how can I allow this to work for me, with me, so that I can continue to give back into the world. For example, I invite people into my space to invest in themselves and to invest their time and their resources. So I have learned over my 12 years of coaching that where we put our time and our money and our energy into reflects the results that we get. And many of us are just too comfortable with throwing away $100 or $200 here and there, that when we really get clear on what matters to us and we lean into the discomfort or the stretch of investing the time and money and resources into ourselves, we're willing to show up. That's the space that I live in. I invite women to invest in themselves to create transformation in their lives. So say you come to me with the consciousness of like, well, I just don't know how I'm going to pay for that. I invite you to shift your consciousness into what would it look like? How is it going to feel when I earn this back and more before the end of the course? It's just a totally different way of thinking. And so many of us are stuck in what's not working. How am I going to do this? And it's often a trigger response from, past experiences or generational from our parents, things that we heard, there wasn't enough. And as long as we choose to believe that, we will be validated and in the experiences in our life, and we will be shown why things aren't working, why there's not enough. But if we shift our perspective and be curious, like, why am I not thinking about how I can earn this back by the end of this course? I will tell you that I have invested close to $150,000 in training and certifications and coaches over the last 10 years. I've invested a large amount, $20,000 in a mentor for a year. And every time I enter that relationship, I know that I'm going to earn that back because I'm willing and open to receiving, and it's the way that I think. So I really want to invite you, the listeners, women, to think about your choices as investments. So remember when I said like employee, self-employed, business owner, investor, yes, financially you get to come to a place, which is where the next level that I'm reaching is like you get to choose how the energy that you're receiving through finances goes back out into the world and amplifies your values and your voice. And that's important. That's the important piece, is that for my listeners in this show, I know that what you value needs to be more valued in the world. And so you get to earn financial energy for that and then put it back and invest in other women. I love to invest in other women. I love to support them in what they're doing. It might be a nonprofit. It might be in their business. I have several teachers that I pay to come into my course to teach. There are things that I could teach, but I love to reward, pay, invest in other women to come and teach for my clients, because that shows that I value what they do and I value their service and I value them. So it's a way that we can amplify our values, right? When we say like organic, healthy food matters to me, and if enough of us are saying it, then guess what? It becomes more available to more people. If we're buying the crap food, it's a supply and demand thing. It's very simple. That's what becomes cheaper and more available for everybody. This is what you guys need to understand, is that where you invest your time and money is where your values are. And so for us as a collective, where we continue to invest our time and money is the way the collective consciousness is going to shift. And if you want to be a part of shifting into something positive, then I invite you to invest in your own transformation, in your own well-being, in healthy foods, in movement, in a coach to help you, in the nonprofit that's doing the work that you enjoy, in somebody who's providing opportunities for other people to grow, for kids, for adults, for whatever that is. And what's so wonderful about receiving financial energy for this is you then get to choose where that energy goes back out into the world. And it's also a way that we amplify our voice, because we're saying, this is what matters to me. This is what matters to the well-being of our planet, to the world, for my children, for generations to come. And so this is where I choose to invest my time and resources. And I'm going to be really honest, like there's a really small percentage of us that are willing to lean into that stretch. Most people are so caught up in what is not working for them. They're stuck in their cycle of self-sabotage. They're stuck in indecision, procrastination, what's not working, that it takes a lot of courage to have that self-awareness and then to seek support around that. And so this podcast episode is really for the listeners who are listening, who've been listening for a while. You're here because you want to grow, you want to change, but maybe you don't know how. And you think that just listening is good enough. And listening, it creates, some change. It might start to rewrite the energetic imprint in your body because you're receiving this information energetically already. But when you choose to take aligned action with where your values are, that is like the gateway right there. And nothing lights me up more than witnessing anybody, really. But I love to particularly work with women. But in so many different capacities, I've worked with children, men, and women. But nothing lights me up more than really just witnessing somebody completely own themselves, their talents, their gifts, their light, what they want in life. That is just one of the most beautiful things to see. When people really give themselves permission to be seen and to share and then to receive just the energy of being witnessed in that. It's a beautiful thing. So if you're listening to the show today, there's probably a reason for it. This is a strong invitation for you to just ask yourself, I wonder what it'll feel like when I choose to trust and to live in that flow of that flow state of consciousness where my energy is going to who I'm becoming, because I'm willing to have the courage to take aligned action on who I'm becoming based on the world I want to live in. Because if enough of us are doing it, the collective consciousness begins to shift. And we are all experiencing very different realities right now. So you get to choose. And who you spend your time with is one of the most important decisions that you will ever make in your life, because those people reflect back to you what your values are. And so if you're here saying, like, I'm here to create a positive impact in the world, whether it's through my relationships in my home, through my family, it's through my relationships at work, my community, or through my job for the big dreamers like me, published author, speaker, creating a school for healers to come together. Those are all the things I'm in right now. Then really just sitting with, like, what's it going to feel like when I'm there? What is the next small step I'm willing to take today to get there? And why does this even matter? Because why this matters and why this conversation around prosperity consciousness matters is because, especially for women, we've been programmed for hundreds, if not thousands of years. We've been suppressed in different ways. It is time for us to rise. It is time for us to use our voice and be able to amplify that voice by investing in our values in the world. Because we're here for the planet, we're here for the children, we're here for nurturing, we are here for healing, we are here for love. And when you invest in an avenue, a gateway that opens up to that, you're saying that this matters to me and this matters to our world, this matters to our planet. There's probably never, I don't know, there's definitely been a time where it's mattered as much as it does now, but it really matters now. The world is a crazy place, and it's quite honestly too toxic and too masculine. And a lot of us women, we're showing up in that energy. We're in the energy of competition. We're in the energy of destruction and selfishness and what can things do for me rather than what can I do for the world. And a way that we do that is we allow ourselves to receive. We allow ourselves to give from a place of overflowing. Because when we can do that, when we are overflowing, we can show up in relationships from a place of just love and compassion and just giving. And it just allows that energy to amplify and to radiate out into the world. So my invitation for each of you listening is, I wonder what it's going to feel like when I choose to make that shift. And a little secret is that it takes a stretch, because prosperity is about trust. It's embodied trust. And the opposite of that is scarcity. So if you're in lack of trust or scarcity, the only way to shift it is to take that leap of faith and to invest in something, to take that aligned action that just doesn't seem possible. That's the only way to shift it, because you go from lack of trust into full trust by saying, I believe in myself. I believe in the process. I believe in the journey. I trust, and it matters. So what is one thing that you'd be willing to do today to shift into that consciousness, to welcome, to receive, to amplify your values and your voice into the world? And if you don't know where to go, of course, I have a resource and tool for you. The course Prosperity is available at any time for you to join. We're doing a couple of times a year, we come together as a group. It's just more fun to come together when others are coming together. But we dive into our money origin story, our ancestral and generational and karmic patterns that have created blocks. And from there, we start to understand the money behavior that was created, that we subconsciously created through our shadow work with money. We then dive deep into our love language around money. And so really getting clear on, like, this is an energy that maybe we need to shift how we're looking at it, because it can be really transformational and beautiful when we are receiving and full and able to give back to the community in ways that matter to us. We then move into the integration and the embodiment of the frequency of wealth, the shift into prosperity consciousness. And a lot of this is sacral chakra work. A lot of it is deepening your relationships intimately in love with your physical body and health and nourishment, how you receive that. And even as simple as, like, how do you receive compliments? Like, how do you receive words of praise? How do you receive acts of service, and all the different love languages? It's all very directly related to your ability to receive and flourish and nourish in financial freedom. And this matters because it gives us choice. Financial freedom isn't about money, it's about choice. I think that's going to be another podcast. I never imagined I would be speaking about this, and I'm so happy to share a different perspective on the value of investing in yourself. Because financial freedom gives you the choice to choose where you put your energy, and you're able to choose to put your energy into your values, which then creates a ripple effect in the world. So I'd love to hear how this lands for you and what your insights are, where you are with this. What have you noticed? Are you in the shift? Are you witnessing the shift? Are you through it? Like, where are you in this shift? Because I am calling on you all to step into this so that we can walk forward and create this shift in consciousness and amplify the values and the voices that we have to what matters to us and to the world for ourselves and for generations to come and for our planet. So thank you for listening in. I hope you all have a wonderful day.
The content of this podcast is to educate, inspire, and inform you of pathways to an embodied healing self. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice from your medical doctor, therapist, registered dietitian, or nutritionist for any questions you may have regarding your diagnosis or condition.
Hello, friends, and thank you so much for being a part of this community and listening in to the Embodied Healing Self podcast. I am deeply honored that you have chosen to listen in and be present with me today. I love and cherish and appreciate each and every one of you joining me for conscious conversations around embodied healing and accessing your soul wisdom. I would love to gift you my meditation bundle and my Energize and Aligned ebook and guide to help you live in alignment with more energy and flow throughout the year. You can find these on my website at www.jenmons.com/tribe. I have one small request for you to help and share the love that we share together on this show. In order for other like and light-minded listeners to listen in on the show, we need reviews. For this show to show up on social media platforms and come into their space of awareness around the topics that we share on the show. You can check out my website at jenmons.com/podcast to leave a review. And also check out other episodes that we've shared on the show. I personally read each and every review that comes through, and I would love to share some love and give you a shout out for your support on my show for leaving a review. Thank you again so much for joining in every week. With love, gratitude, and aloha, yours truly, Jen Mons and the Embodied Healing Self podcast.